Good evening. This is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and welcome to our first Oscar predictions for the 2021 Oscars. Parasite's history. We're moving on to a whole new batch of contenders, freshly baked, still in the oven. Who knows what we're gonna get?
Well, we know what some of we're gonna get.
Yeah. Last year, it's never good to look back.
Yeah, it actually was, Cole. We actually got 4 of our top 10 were eventual Best Picture nominees.
But the rest of the top 30, we had no more hits.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And embarrassingly enough, Cats was number 12. In our defense, we don't know the musical. We didn't know what that was.
Last year, the movies that got in, the 4 that we predicted correctly, Little Women, Irishman, Hollywood, and Ford v Ferrari, it was based on the status of the directors, what they had done before, if they had directed Oscar movies before, and that worked for, those chunk of movies.
And the cast.
But we also got Taika Waititi had a movie.
Noah Baumbach's first contender.
Yeah, it's their first contenders, and then Todd Phillips' first contender. We're always gonna get movies from newcomers to the Oscar race. Oh, and then obviously Bong Joon-ho never had a movie nominated for Best Picture.
When we're doing the early predictions, point is we got to go with the heavyweights. What has the most check boxes? It's Mank. Not only is David Fincher wildly overdue at this point for an Oscar, but this movie is about the screenwriter of Citizen Kane, which is a movie the Oscars have not awarded properly. So it's about screenwriting, it's about Hollywood, it's about the 40s, it's in black and white, it's a biopic, and who is in the lead role? It's Gary Oldman.
Fincher has a knack for taking things that could be boring, like boring conversations, and making them dynamic and interesting, etc. The fact that this is in black and white completely convinced me to put this at number 1. It's an Oscar bait Fincher film. It's not Girl with the Dragon Tattoo Fincher film. It's not even Gone Girl Fincher film. This is a film about Citizen Kane. We know they love movies about movies, but it's basically about the battle for credit over Citizen Kane's screenplay. It's his father's source material. He's going to be passionate about it. He wants us to get nominated. He wants to get his father an Oscar nomination. This movie's going to come from the heart. For the third time, it's in black and white.
Number 2 is Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro just won a fucking director Oscar with his last movie. We know that Guillermo del Toro makes weird-ass movies sometimes, but this is clearly an Oscar bait movie. Clearly!
Yeah.
This is a noir from Guillermo del Toro.
And from the image that they released, it looks like he's remaking the movie Carol.
They didn't release that. That was taken.
Okay.
It was so beautifully lit that the image that the photographer took looks spectacular.
Really?
So
this movie is definitely getting nominated for cinematography as well. We have 2 cinematography locks. I'll bet my left leg that both Mank and this movie get nominated for cinematography. I mean, Shape of Water was absolutely gorgeous looking.
There is a possibility that this film comes out in 2021. But basically, some people are like, oh, this is a remake of a 40s movie. And it's first of all, if it's a remake of a movie from the 50s or earlier, it's fine. That's a green light. It's also more of a readaptation of the book. Both the book and the movie have good reviews. So we're in the good hands of good source material. It's going to get nominated for score and production design and cinematography. And who is in it but Bradley Cooper, Rooney Mara, Cate Blanchett, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, David Strathairn, Richard Jenkins? I mean, this is are you kidding me? As long as it's good, it gets more than 10 nominations.
And let me make a weird prediction that it's just going to get snubbed for SAG Ensemble. Let me just make that prediction. Oh my God, Cole, let me make that prediction right now. Shape of Water did. Let me just freaking make it.
Number 3, another gimme obvious. West Side Story. Steven Spielberg is directing it. You cannot bet against Steven Spielberg unless it's the BFG. Look at last decade. War Horse, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln, The Post. That's 4 movies that were nominated for Best Picture from Steven Spielberg. This is a remake of a movie that won 10 Oscars. Because it's a remake, that obviously is risky. That's why it's not number 1. Spielberg's got to update this musical in the appropriate way. But he's also you got to trust him.
It's also sort of a layup, though. I don't even know if Spielberg has to do that much with this movie because it's such a layup. Even The Post, which didn't have any technical nominations, got nominated for Best Picture and Actress. And all it did was be Spotlight again, and they still nominated it. So I would not bet against West Side Story, even though I'm kind of why isn't Spielberg doing another movie about friendly aliens? I want that.
Number 4, The Trial
Number 4.
of the Chicago 7. We said, don't bet against Spielberg. Do you know who is supposed to direct this movie? Steven Spielberg.
Oh, goodness.
What kind of source material is that? This is a true story about the Chicago 7, according to Wikipedia, a group of 7 defendants charged by the federal government with conspiracy, blah, 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 anti-Vietnam War, countercultural protests, 1968 Democratic Convention. It's a political thriller, a true story in the 60s.
And it's going to try to speak to our times.
And it is Aaron Sorkin writing it and directing it. You know, you could say, well, Aaron Sorkin's only directed one movie. And it's like, yeah, he directed one movie. And for a directorial debut, like, that movie did very well. And this has a huge ensemble cast that could get, like, not 1 but 2 supporting nominations. We got Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Jeremy Strong, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Mark Rylance, Michael Keaton, Frank Langella. We have a rising star, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, rising star.
He's been paired with phenomenal filmmakers in the past, so he himself is not proven as a director.
And I'm just saying that he could direct this movie averagely, and if it has such an Oscar bait, like really, really good script and a great cast, it doesn't matter. We also have cinematography from Phaedon Papamichael, who did Ford v Ferrari and Nebraska. We have a very competent cinematographer.
You have a movie that's definitely vying for Oscars.
This movie has been trying to get Oscars since it was developed. It's like, it is an Oscar movie. It's for the Oscars.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get nominated, it is a failure.
Yeah, but Cole, as we know, with like Oscar bait, it doesn't always work. Okay, yes, it gets nominated for screenplay. It's Aaron Sorkin. It's probably going to get close into Best Picture. Even Molly's Game got a PGA nomination. Supporting actor, more skeptical, because who are they going to nominate out of that entire cast? It's like, it's about 7 people.
It's Sacha Baron Cohen, actually.
What?
I swear to God, it's Sacha Baron Cohen, probably. Because
why?
That's what people are saying, and his character has crazy hair. I mean, think about it. This guy almost about to play Freddie Mercury, Justin. He almost played Bohemian Rhapsody, and he could have been an Oscar nominee then. It's about time for him. Like, he's been, like, kind of waiting to be a serious actor.
I see this movie as being more on the fringe than you do, but I still think it's in my top 10.
Number 5, Hillbilly Elegy. Ron Howard's directing this. He's a little hit or miss. But a lot of the times you just got to look at the project that he's doing. Like, when he does the Oscar bait drama, it almost always works for him. Last Decade wasn't his best in terms of getting nominations. Rush was very good, but it was snubbed. The decade before that was like Beautiful Mind, Frost, Nixon. We have Glenn Close and Amy Adams, the 2 most overdue actresses on the planet.
Competing in the same category, if I'm not mistaken.
Potentially in the same category, unless they change up Amy Adams' screen time from the book and they make it her lead. I don't know. But Glenn Close seems like, in particular, she could win here. She's playing like a crazy grandma. The book that it's based on was a very popular book and mostly critically acclaimed. But there's a little controversy in, like, is this book, like, too conservative valued? It may or may not be a problem for this movie. I don't know.
And this is just one of, I feel like, a few movies this year that are going to focus on, like, the American Midwest, like the who got Trump elected kind of people. And I'm not sure we're going to see backlash against that. But I mean, if it's a good movie and the ensemble is, like, amazing and everybody in it is just, like, blows you away, then sure. I mean, 3 Billboards got really close to winning Best Picture.
Oh, but here's the other thing. Vanessa Taylor is the writer. This is the writer who did The Shape of Water.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when the trailer hits, we're going to go, oh my God, look at Glenn Close. My God, look at Amy Adams. This is an Oscar movie. So, yeah, I would have this in my top 10. The next movie, Nick Skull wins. Like, as people know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Jojo Rabbit, and this is Taika Waititi's follow-up. It's basically a sports comedy about an American Samoa soccer team who's supposed to be, like, the worst soccer team in the world. But then Michael Fassbender comes in, and he's, like, this crazy coach who, you know, is very, like, hard on them, but also, like, endearing, I think. The fact that Waititi is directing this movie, he's definitely meant to do heartwarming comedies, and this sounds like the perfect material for him to, like, manifest his powers. Michael Fassbender seems like he will get nominated for this movie for for playing a screaming coach. He's going to be very funny, and he will probably, like, make people cry because it's a Waititi film. Even as someone who Jojo Rabbit, like, wasn't my cup of tea, I can completely see this being, like, a really good and fun and charming movie in his hands. I think it could be a big winner again of this year's fall festivals if it chooses to go that route.
I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking this movie in their predictions because they see it as a comedy, but then it's like, wait a minute. He's gonna make like this completely like uplifting, charming, funny, and dramatic and heartfelt soccer movie. Like, if we learn anything from Jojo Rabbit, it's that he hits all the sweet spots. Why would Michael Fassbender and Elizabeth Moss be in this movie if it's just a comedy? It's obvious. Like, these are actors who, when they do a role, it's like, oh shit.
He's going to be absolutely fucking hilarious. Like, I'm going to laugh my socks off at Michael Fassbender playing this coach. I mean, if you want to know more about this movie, you should definitely watch the trailer for the documentary. The documentary looks pretty good. I haven't seen it.
So, at 7, I have Dune. Denis Villeneuve's new movie. I mean, whose most anticipated list is this not on? Denis Villeneuve is clearly one of the great filmmakers working today. He's such a craftsman that you can imagine his films getting like many nominations. But it could also end up like Blade Runner 2049. This is a super ambitious sci-fi epic based on a classic sci-fi novel.
Adventure movie.
Starring Timothée Chalamet. Oscar Isaac's in it, Josh Brolin's in it.
Think like Lawrence of Arabia with fantasy elements.
Maybe it'll be a little too slow, like how Denis Villeneuve likes to pace his movies really tense and slowly. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Something that actually does kind of push me over on this one, in a good way, is that one of the writers is Eric Roth. Forrest Gump, The Insider, Munich, Benjamin Button, A Star is Born, and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. That's 6 Best Picture nominees that this guy's written. I mean...
And you wouldn't expect his name to be attached to this adventure movie.
It's an easy bet for visual effects and sound awards and cinematography. So, you know, how much further do you have to go to get to picture?
Maybe quite a ways, Cole. Maybe quite a ways. Who's doing the cinematography?
Oh, the cinematography is being done by Greg Fraser. Oh. And the score is being done by Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I don't know if this movie might fail at the box office. It seems like it's trying to be like a slightly weird but like amazing, visually sumptuous epic. Yeah, but this is a weird project. I mean, Blade Runner was the last giant sci-fi epic I feel like we saw. It might be very comparable to this movie, and Blade Runner 2049 did not do that well at the box office.
I'm just looking forward to a trailer. Like, I need to see the visual look of this movie.
Cole, the trailer is going to be stunning.
I know, that's why I want to see it. But it's also coming out in December. So they are like planting it, and they're hoping that it can land Oscars. Another big tentpole movie is Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Now, why is this not in my top 3? Because, folks, it's an action espionage movie. This trailer makes it look like this movie might have a lot of tricks up its sleeve and like a lot of stuff it's not telling us, which I love. But at the same time, I cannot tell yet why this movie's not like Inception 2.0. You can expect this to get like visual effects and sound and hopefully like an editing nomination or cinematography and Hans Zimmer's score. Christopher Nolan's a little hit or miss at the Oscars. I'm not gonna like say that this is a lock or anything.
It happens like once a decade that you get, you know, an Inception. And so that movie makes sense why it went to the Oscars. And then Dunkirk was Oscar bait. So what is Tenet? It seems like it's going to have like the typical Nolan like mind-bendy thing, but I don't know if people are tired of that at this point, or if Nolan like really can keep that going and keep us surprised. I don't know. I mean, if it's not as compelling as Inception, then I definitely have a harder time seeing this movie get into the Oscars.
I wouldn't expect it to get any acting nominations. I don't think John David Washington's like getting nominated. So we'll have to see. You know, I'm very curious, as we all are, about what Tenet is and what Tenet means. We had the French Dispatch, which the trailer, you know, we didn't give our thoughts about it, but I'm not a Wes Anderson stan. I don't go head over heels for everything he does. And I don't think that he's made anything that, like, to me is a masterpiece. You know, this looks like it's totally trying to be Budapest Hotel all over again. It has political subtext. It's in Europe. It has wacko production design. It's obviously a contender there, and it's obviously, like, a score contender. They could nominate this movie for a shit ton of Oscars, like everything that Budapest got. It feels almost too similar. But it's also about journalists, and movies about journalists are like Oscar bait. I don't know. I'm like very torn on if this will actually get in, because it has to be as good as the Budapest Hotel, if not like...
And it has to do something else too. You know, to me, like, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect it to work every time for Oscars. And Wes Anderson is going to do the same thing over and over again. I don't know if the Oscars are gonna like go for that, or if they're gonna keep nominating him for this stuff. Like Grand Budapest Hotel was like, guys, like we need to nominate Wes Anderson, and he just did a movie that had like the best production design of all of his films. It was the best looking. It was like the most this, and The French Dispatch seems like it could be just as good looking. I don't know, but it's also a movie that is going to be like lots of short stories, like maybe sort of like an anthology thing going on here. There's not going to be anybody nominated for this film who in the acting categories.
That's a concern of mine, though, because Wes Anderson's movies usually have very good characters. Like, you know, Grand Budapest Hotel was kind of a character study. I don't know if this is actually going to work as a character study, and that's why Isle of Dogs was not good. Because who do I care about? Who do I care about? And I hope that this movie does not have that issue, but that's my concern. That's my personal concern. But I can't say that it's not like total Oscar bait.
And his movies are just becoming more and more about like if your taste aligns with like what he likes to do.
If the movie doesn't break an 83 on Metacritic, I am not predicting it.
Yeah, but even if it does break that, I'm not sure. I mean, the whole thing is that people have to be talking about this movie at the end of the year. It can't just be another Wes Anderson film. People riding around on like weird scooters that don't exist on like, you know, in like storybook locations. I don't know.
All right, number 10 on the list is Minari. I am one of few people who has seen this movie twice. I know Minari. It's a great movie. It should be nominated. I hope it gets screenplay, I really hope it gets score, and I really hope it gets supporting actress. I think Steven Yeun has a really good shot at getting a supporting actor nomination. So, we have a little package that we could do here, but will the Oscars farewell this movie? Here's why I think it has a better shot than the farewell. Because I think it's a little more entertaining. I think it's a little more of a laugh and cry simultaneously movie. My audiences, they might be Sundance audiences, but they were very responsive in laughing and crying to this movie. It has a very charming young little kid. I have it at number 10 because I'm very in the middle on it. I don't know what will happen with it. But it's also not a bad bet to make because we've seen it and we know it has great reviews and we know it will get Oscar buzz. We don't have a release date yet, but we need them to put it in October or November if we need a shot.
Yeah, A24, it seems like that this will be their biggest pitch for Best Picture this year. Does it feel important? Does it feel like relevant?
It's about immigrants. It has themes of like American Dream, but it resonates as a movie about family.
The Farewell.
I personally didn't like The Farewell as much as Minari. So I'm telling you as that I think Minari has a better shot. It won both the biggest prizes at Sundance. I think it's even more likely than The Farewell for screenplay too, because this is like what you nominate for screenplays. Like this is the screenplay you nominate.
Well, I feel like once again, that last year the reason The Farewell wasn't nominated is in part because there were so many good movies. Like we had an extra crowded Best Picture race. I wonder if The Farewell would have gotten in the year the Green Book won.
I think The Farewell's a little slow paced. Minari might not be a movie that's like relentlessly entertaining, but it moves along nicely, I will say that. All right, we got Nomadland at number 11. Frances McDormand is in this film, and that means she's like a big Best Actress contender. Yeah. But we have the director of The Rider, which might not be a movie that us two loved. Obviously others did. But this movie is based on a novel that tackles a lot of themes about middle America, lower wage workers.
It's about the economic plight of old people in this country and how like they once had dreams of like retiring with money and now like they cannot do that, and then so they resort to becoming like nomads. So there's a lot of relevant issues going on here with middle America and its economic struggles, and I guess America as a whole. And Frances McDormand, my God, she's getting nominated. I mean, this is like a social realism movie that takes place in the Midwest.
This movie's gonna get a 90 or more on Metacritic. Where do we go from there? Does it appeal to Academy members? It very, very might well not appeal to the Academy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, The Rider was like a super indie movie. And
it's gonna be all natural lighting. You're gonna have mostly like non-actors in it. But Beasts of the Southern Wild did it with non-actors, natural lighting, and that whole that whole thing. Can this movie Winter's Bone it into the Oscars race? I think that's like a good comparison. And I feel like it might get Florida Project did. Frances McDormand though will stay in. That will be like the movie's latching on point to the Oscars, and we'll see if the boat moves too fast that everything else falls off the back, but Frances McDormand will be safely on the back of that boat. I also want to make another prediction. This movie will be compared to Hillbilly Elegy as contrasting examples of explorations of Middle America. And this movie will be seen as the more mature, more nuanced exploration of that.
At 12, we have News of the World. Paul Greengrass, Captain Phillips' Bourne Trilogy, United 93, is directing a Western based on a critically acclaimed book. And who other than Tom Hanks is in the lead role? And he helps a young girl who was kidnapped. So I don't know like what kind of Western this is. I don't know what kind of flavors Paul Greengrass is going to bring, because he's usually known for like political thrillers.
This seems like a thriller.
Oh.
He's trying to save somebody who's been kidnapped, and it's a Western.
He's also using a different cinematographer. He's using Dariusz Wolski,
whose work is quite amazing.
I mean, this could be a little different for Paul Greengrass. You know, you can't argue with Tom Hanks in the lead role. Can't argue with Paul Greengrass. This is a guy who's been nominated once, and he should have been nominated twice. Oh, the writer wrote Lion. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm curious more about like what genre this movie is. And I'm also kind of disappointed because it seems like it's going to come out around Christmas, and it's going to be one of those things that we don't know what's happening until like the last second, like with 1917.
Next is Da 5 Bloods. Spike Lee is definitely a filmmaker where we never know if he's going to make an Oscar contender or not. Now, this is about a group of veterans from the Vietnam War who return to the jungle to find their lost innocence, and it stars Chadwick Boseman. We've got Giancarlo Esposito, Paul Walter Hauser, Jean Reno, even Jonathan Majors is in this movie. So we've got a huge cast. Is Spike Lee continuing the Oscar train that he conducted with BlacKkKlansman? He's very hit or miss too, so we never really know. He had a war movie that came out in 2008 called Miracle at St. Anna, and nobody liked it. Nobody liked it.
BlacKkKlansman has such an original story and confronted like today's politics so head on that's really what got it into the Oscar race, I think. It just depends if he can tell a story that kind of harkens to its roots of like who he is as an independent filmmaker. Like he's here to give you a message.
Also, one thing that's cool about this movie is that the cinematographer did Drive, someone he has not worked with as far as I can see. They also did Bohemian Rhapsody,
Three
and
Kings.
Marshall. Terrence Blanchard's doing the score again. So yeah, I mean, I think this one does have better hopes than most.
It also
Spike
has a
Lee
really
projects.
good cast. Yeah, it's ambiguous as to like what this movie will tackle. You know, we all want Spike Lee's movies to tackle something, and I think that's what he needs to do to get into the Oscars again.
Next, I have Ammonite, which after the image came out from this movie, like from Neon, and Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan are a couple in this movie, everyone's freaking out, and they're like, my God, give them Oscars. And
Sure.
We cannot deny that you have Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan, two of the best working actors, in the same movie together. So
No.
these actors could totally get nominated.
Sure.
And then how far off is it if both of them are nominated to get Best Picture? It
Far
may
off.
not be that. It may
Far
not
off.
be that far off.
Looking just at the image and the plot, it's a romance by the sea, and it's passionate, and the waves represent their passion that are crashing onto the literal shore. I just don't know about this movie, Cole.
You don't know.
I do
You
not
would've
know,
said
but,
this
like,
about Portrait of a
I
Lady
really
on
don't
Fire.
know.
There's
I would
also
not have said
Romance
that.
by the Sea.
I don't
so
care.
You don't know.
Yeah, they just made a great movie about that, Cole. People don't repeat greatness like that.
This is an original movie, by the way. It's not based off some fucking book. The director and writer did God's Own Country, which is a movie that unfortunately I didn't see, but it has an 85 on Metacritic and is very well liked in general. The two who are doing the score did the score for Lion. Dustin
Sure.
O'Halloran and Hauschka. That was a gorgeous score. The cinematographer did Jackie and Rust and Bone. Like, this is pretty good shit.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess this movie has like a decent package, and if it's extra heartfelt, like maybe, you know, it gets in. It doesn't have an interesting angle though from the story perspective. Like, yes,
We
it's
don't know
about
that.
gay lovers, but it's like a period drama about forbidden love, etc., etc. Like, I'm a little skeptical.
Well, the other thing is that Neon doesn't have a lot else here, so this might be like their main bet as far as we can see, unless they like buy something out of Cannes or something.
This could be like the period romance film, I guess, that gets in. I'm not sure.
I don't want to overestimate it just because it's a period piece and they're wearing costumes. I don't want to overestimate it for that reason, but I will not underestimate it because of the cast. Because there's talented crew involved, it could be a good movie. Is it up the Oscars alley? That's another question too.
My thing, I guess, is if it gets really good reviews, then we should expect it to get Oscar nominations just like anything else.
But is
and
it like
what makes me think that it could get good reviews is because the director's first movie got very good
that's
reviews.
what I'm saying. Next up is Red, White, and Water. A24 is doing this movie. The director is someone who has never done a movie before. And the writer is someone who has never written a movie before. How do we know that this film will be something? Because Jennifer Lawrence is in it. And what is Jennifer Lawrence in that is nothing? Nothing. If Jennifer Lawrence is in it, it can go like a long way. Brian Tyree Henry's also in it. And this is Jennifer Lawrence is playing a U.S. soldier who suffers a brain injury while fighting in Afghanistan. So it's about PTSD. We actually have a couple movies about PTSD. She could totally get nominated, and then, like, what else does the movie do? It's A24, so does it have an interesting style? Probably.
Yeah, the fact this is A24 tells me that this isn't some conventional, like, war veteran coming home movie that's just, like, waving American flags in your face.
Look at the cinematographer. He did Cemetery of Splendor. The cinematographer also did Wildlife. Jack Fisk is doing the production design. Look, they've assembled, like, a hell of a crew. And you know what that reminds me of? Lion. It's an Oscar bait movie that Weinstein put together to get Oscars. Who's Garth Davis? Doesn't matter. This is a movie that they have, like, such a crew. Very good cinematographer. Very good composers in that movie. Both nominated for it. Like,
yeah, it's a PTSD drama. Like, that doesn't seem that compelling.
It could be emotionally compelling. And Jennifer
maybe
Lawrence
it's a vehicle for her.
A Best Actress nomination, and then Brian Tyree Henry could get a Supporting Actress nomination.
We don't know what he's doing in this movie.
I'm pretty sure he's playing her husband.
I don't know. I want to know more about this movie. I want to know, like, the angle it's taking genre-wise before I would put it higher up.
In the Heights is 16. Others have this higher in their top 10. I'm personally just convinced that this is going to be Rocket Man all over again. It's just going to be a movie that comes out in, like, the first half of the summer, and people like it in the moment, like Crazy Rich Asians, which this guy directed. This movie would have sold me if the cinematography was like, whoa, like, this is, like, a movie that could get nominated for cinematography or production design, and it isn't. What nomination potential does this have? Picture and song? Like, is that it? We're probably not going to nominate Anthony Ramos for Best Actor, are we? Maybe at the Golden Globes.
I mean, I think he has a better chance than, like, the movie itself in picture.
I can just easily see it, like, not living up to the musical. That's, like, a very easy thing to imagine to me.
I think it will be criticized for being a little too sanitized version of, like, this life in, you know, in the Heights. It's a studio film that's trying really hard to resonate with, like, messages today, and it's going to do a good job at it. But think about, like, Harriet last year.
Next, we got On the Rocks, which is Sofia Coppola's movie, and she's doing it with not only A24, but Apple Plus has made a joint deal with them. So can Apple Plus run an Oscar campaign? Probably. They're probably just like Netflix, and they have a ton of money to put behind stuff.
And this is, like, the movie they're going to be pushing the most. But we also heard that The Banker was going to be a movie that Apple was going to push, and that just never happened.
Well, who knows, Justin? It's not on this list, but who knows?
No, but here's the problem with this movie and its Oscar prospects. You have Apple seems to be trying really hard to get, like, an awards contender. They choose Sofia Coppola, which seems to make sense on the surface because she's a very acclaimed woman director, and she's been nominated before. But you have A24 producing this film. And Sofia Coppola takes risks, okay? She's not pandering. She goes at her own pace. The Beguiled was a movie that had costumes and stuff. But, you know, if you saw that movie, like, it was not an awards bait movie.
I mean, look at the movie Somewhere. That's like a movie that does not care if you are bored. But, on the other hand, she's made entertaining movies like The Bling Ring. So this movie is a dramedy. It has Rashida Jones and Bill Murray and Jenny Slate in it. All comedic actors. Could it be, like, a little too comedic for the Oscars? That's a possibility.
No,
but
it'll be good.
Rashida Jones is probably going to give, like, the best performance of her career or something. Bill Murray, obviously, kind of,
definitely hype for him.
In lead actor or supporting actor, wherever they put him. I think it does have a chance to be Sofia Coppola's return to the Oscars.
This movie could still get in without being awards bait if it's just really good and has great performances. Like, I hope it's that. But I don't know if it will have, like, gravitas, you know what I mean? I definitely have, you know, high hopes for it. And it feels like a Sofia Coppola movie that is on a track towards awards season attention, at the least.
And then we have The Last Duel. It's about the duels of squires and men in the ancient Ridley Scott times. Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon. And guess who wrote it? Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Whoa, Good Will Hunting throwback, everybody. 90s kids, hello. This movie's coming out in January. It wants Oscars. It's about King Charles the something. Here's my thing. And we said it with Outlaw King. We said it with The King. You know, we should have seen it coming with Mary Queen of Scots. The old battle epic, like swords and horses movies, those days are over for the Oscars. No more Ben-Hurs. No more gladiators.
It's just uninspired at this point.
Yeah. What was Exodus Gods and Kings? I will say, though, the fact that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are writing it kind of makes me think, like, this was a story-focused movie. It's not just, like, Ridley Scott's doing this for the budget and for the epicness. Could it be a return to ye old Oscars? Maybe, maybe not.
It doesn't feel unique and it doesn't feel relevant. So even if
true.
it's a good movie, just those two things.
And then I have Blonde, which is a fictionalized chronicle of the inner life of Marilyn Monroe. And who is playing Marilyn Monroe other than Ana de Armas? Knives Out star, kind of like skyrocketed into stardom. And she has a real opportunity to be nominated and potentially win an Oscar here. She surprised everybody with like how good she was in Knives Out. What can she do as like this Oscar bait transformation role? Like, we don't know. This movie's probably going to get actress in makeup at the least. It might be more of an actress vehicle, but this director is also Andrew Dominique, who did Assassination of Jesse James, kind of an interesting filmmaker.
And Killing Them Softly.
Which is a very...
this is not Judy. This is not Bohemian Rhapsody. This is not The Theory of Everything. This is a real movie that wants to say something interesting about Marilyn Monroe and seems to be serious about doing that. I see it as, very obvious that Ana de Armas is going to be a contender. I mean, her trajectory right now, it seems like she's just, right on track to hit that Oscar race based on, like, her Knives Out breakout. They love to award actresses at this age. That's, like, a fact if you look at, like, the charts. They love it. I wonder if it's going to be, like, as much as Jackie or something. Like, is it going to be, like, off the walls? It'll be interesting to see. But I'm more convinced that it's just an actress thing for her.
We might have a slow burn problem here,
right,
too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Jackie as well was a movie that was too weird and too doing its own thing for the Oscars, but they decided, Natalie Portman, you're good enough in this movie that you're obviously getting nominated too.
And then we have Annette, which is, like, one of the most bonkers pitch for a movie that you're going to get this year. So we have Leos Carax, who directed Holy Motors.
You know what? Watch the accordion scene from that movie to see what you're getting into, because this movie is a musical.
Not only is it a musical, but it's entirely in song and starring Adam Driver and Marianne Cotillard. Some of the best actors that we have, folks. And they're going to be singing. We don't know what this is going to be, but this looks like maybe an original song nominee.
This sounds like a really good movie, but it's not going to get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, at the same time, like, we don't know. We don't know.
I mean, maybe if this movie gets like a 95 on Metacritic.
But the other thing is, like, what if the acting's good enough to nominate?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty badass, but I'm just saying, like, this is not anywhere close to a lock of a movie. Like, this,
No. I've got on my radar Prisoner 760, which is a, like, Guantanamo Bay movie that has a cast that makes me scratch my head a little bit. We got Benedict Cumberbatch, Shailene Woodley, and Jodie Foster. We also have Zachary Levi. There's some actors who, like, get consideration from time to time. We have a director who did The Last King of Scotland, the movie that won Forrest Whitaker his Oscar. I won't ignore this movie. I don't know what it is. I just have it on here as kind of like, look at this cast, look at the director, like, there's something here.
Prisoner 760, I mean, that's kind of like a stupid title.
Yeah.
I just don't like that title.
Next, we have Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's brand new psychological thriller starring Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy. This movie is not only, like, something that he's cited films like Repulsion and, like, older horror movies as inspirations. It's actually a movie that I think has a time travel element where it also involves, like, the 60s. He's also teaming up with Chung Hoon Chung, the cinematographer of Chan-wook Park films, which is like pretty amazing. It's probably going to be a fantastic looking movie, and I can't wait to see what Edgar Wright does like with a psychological horror film. But then again, we're talking psychological horror. Like, this is probably not an Oscar movie, so why is it even on the list? Well, I think that Edgar Wright is kind of overdue for some sort of recognition. I think people are starting to realize that. And what if this movie is actually like one of the best movies of the year? And it has those period elements. It has genre elements where it's like, maybe we're going to nominate cinematography. Oh, look at that. We can nominate production design. Oh, look at that. We can nominate like editing. And then all of a sudden, we go, does this movie get... I don't know.
It's a weirder genre for the Oscars to confront, but Knives Out had that like audience success that I think this movie would need to capitalize on if it wants to get in the award season, and it has an award season release date.
The writer who's not Edgar Wright is the writer of 1917. Like, what is that? Also, I think that the September 25th release date suggests that you're probably going to see this movie among like the Toronto lineup. Yeah. So it'll get some of that buzz.
Yeah, like I want this movie to do its own thing and to give me whatever it wants to give me. And I don't think it cares that much if the Oscars like that.
Then we have the untitled Fred Hampton project. We have Daniel Kaluuya playing a real-life member of the Black Panther Party that comes out in August, which is kind of, like August release dates are a little shaky, a little iffy. But, this is a biopic. Not only is Daniel Kaluuya in it, but it stars Lakeith Stanfield, Martin Sheen, Ashton Sanders. Like, there's a good cast here. Who knows what this movie can do? Maybe it's going to be like a Straight Outta Compton where it's sort of this like unexpected hit. Oh, and Sean Bobbitt doing the cinematography. So there we got a good cinematographer. So this movie is something. Like, there's something here. But it also might be like a Queen and Slim.
The main thing that gives me pause about this movie is the release date, which is August 21st. That says that they don't care about award season. I mean, that's going to be the death of a movie like this. If they don't care, if they're not confident in it as an awards movie, then, like, what is it? I don't know.
Next, we have The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I think looks a little more like a movie that could get acting hype for the leads, Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield.
They're playing televangelists who sort of, like, fall from grace, no pun intended. And they look bonkers in this. I mean, there's a still of them in the movie, I think. They're really playing up that televangelist like personality and the ridiculousness of that. And so it's going to be really funny. And they look like they're going to be freaking amazing and hilarious in it. If you can imagine Andrew Garfield as like a wimpy like televangelist freaking out like hick thing, and Jessica Chastain is the same thing, but like a female version of that. I think these two could get acting nominations. It could be really a really fun, entertaining movie. It's the director of The Big Sick, so that's neither like promising nor disheartening. It's like, okay, this, could do something. I think this movie has more potential than a lot of these movies on this list, especially because like it has actress in there as like potential and like maybe a screenplay. This is going to Toronto.
We'll see.
I am telling you, it's going to Toronto. I'm not saying it's going to win the festival or anything, but it's going there.
Next, we have Harry Haft, a movie that I think a lot of people are sort of overlooking, but we have Ben Foster in the lead role. True story of an Auschwitz survivor, and he came out and he became a professional boxer. The story is supposedly that he did this so that he could become famous enough to find his wife or his girlfriend. It sounds like an inspiring ass piece of Oscar bait, and it's from the director of Rain Man, which was an inspiring ass piece of Oscar bait. But, the warning sign with that is that this director seems to be either behind the times or just like not doing any good projects anymore. With Oscar bait like this, can we deny that Ben Foster could be a contender? I do not think that we can. Vicky Krieps is also in it. Need to see more from Vicky Krieps. It's probably
hasn't done anything significant in like years.
It's probably going to be Harriet or something, where it's just like too studio, too polished. And then we have Soul, which is Disney Pixar, as we all know. I just see it going on a very similar route to Inside Out. It's like personifying like these internal abstract things. Inside Out, as good as it was, didn't receive a Best Picture nomination. I feel like this movie will go a similar route. It could get a screenplay nomination. I'm very curious about it. I think we're all anticipating it.
Pixar really seems to be capitalizing on like the deep movie thing. And WALL-E and Up didn't feel like they were trying. Like Ratatouille didn't feel like it was trying to go for that depth. But like Soul is literally going for your fucking soul. And I'm just not feeling it as much.
We have Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is Taylor Sheridan. We all know him as the writer of Hell or High Water and Sicario, Wind River. So he's consistent. And Angelina Jolie's in this movie, potentially in a supporting fashion. This movie looks like, to some extent, it'll be tackling like a forest fire thing or climate change. He's always political.
He has made like the neo-Western a thing. Well, not only like made it a thing, but like made it relevant again. Made it feel like it means something. Like he's just been capitalizing on that and he keeps going for it. He could have another Hell or High Water on his hands. I don't know. But he's sort of on track like to make a great like director movie soon. It's about a child and it has like a supporting cast of adults, which usually doesn't work that well for Oscars. I have like pretty good hopes for this to be like a very good movie, but I don't know if it'll turn out to be Wind River. And Hell or High Water was an anomaly. I mean, let's face it, like we didn't expect that movie to even like we didn't know what that movie like even was doing. Like when I saw the poster for that, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then like somehow it gets like picture at the Oscars.
Stillwater is next. This is Tom McCarthy, director of Spotlight. Matt Damon's in it and Abigail Breslin's in it, and it's probably a heartstring movie.
Okay, so the movie's about a father who travels from Oklahoma to France to help his daughter who has been arrested for murder. So, like Taken, but in an Oscar-vying fashion.
It's also worth noting that the movie's coming out in November, so it's like trying to be Oscar.
Definitely trying.
But I also see thriller in the genre here. Not friendly for the Oscars. They don't really care very much for thrillers.
But I mean, a lot of people have this movie pretty high on their lists because we're seeing the Spotlight director in a film with Matt Damon and will probably show up at film festivals. I don't really know what to make of it except to say that the plot doesn't sound that friendly for Oscars, like genre-wise. Like it's sort of distressing to have a movie about a guy who's looking for his daughter. Also, Spotlight was blandly directed. I mean, let's just face that. Even if you like the movie, it was blandly directed.
The Father, I think this is more of a vehicle for Hopkins, but I think that Coleman could be campaigned as supporting. I've seen this movie because I was at Sundance, and Hopkins, like, very well may fucking win another Oscar. I think it also could get screenplay, maybe. So at best, this movie is like The Two Popes, and it also appeals to maybe an older demographic and an academy that is like aging, and they're like, oh my god, my mind. It's possible that this could get a little bit of a Best Picture push, but I think that they really are gonna go behind Hopkins and like go all in for him winning Best Actor. We have Come On, Come On, which is a Mike Mills movie, the director of Beginners and 20th Century Women, which were both movies that notably were nominated for one Oscar. And this movie stars Joaquin Phoenix. The plot is not Oscar bait. It's about like a guy who goes on like a journey with his nephew, but it could be an excellent movie. And Robbie Ryan is doing the cinematography, who did Marriage Story and The Favorite. It might be a very good movie, and then like, can we ignore it if Joaquin Phoenix gives another amazing performance? Perhaps we cannot ignore it.
King Richard stars Will Smith, and he plays the Serena Venus sisters' dad as he tries to coach them and mold them into great tennis players. I think it's sort of an intense like sports drama, and Will Smith plays like this very resilient dad who's very hard on his kids. Obviously his flaws that he's hard, but then he's likable because he really wants them to win and he's a pusher. So
you close your eyes, you think about Will Smith as this like dad who's training his daughters, and you see an Oscar nomination in sight. I see an Oscar nomination for Will Smith here.
I wouldn't put him in like my top 3, but I definitely see him getting hyped for this role. And other than that, this movie seems sort of conventional. There's no other real roles that seem that significant, except for, you know, those of the daughters. I don't see the movie like really going anywhere else, except for maybe some Will Smith hype.
We have Good Morning Midnight, which is a very strange concept of a movie that George Clooney's directing. As we all know, he kind of fucked up in the last movie, Monuments Men. Oh, and then Suburbicon.
Yep, Suburbicon.
Okay, yeah, this is low.
2
This
flops
is
in a
low.
row.
George Clooney's starring in it, and he's playing, like, basically he's like Matt Damon in The Martian, but in Antarctica and not on Mars.
Yeah.
And then Felicity Jones is, like, coming back from Jupiter somehow, like aeronauts style, and they're like communicating, and like it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's
Just leave it
It's
at that.
weird. I don't know.
I don't
think so.
I don't know either. But like, what are you gonna do for the whole movie in Antarctica? What are you gonna do?
One other movie that I just want to talk about that's not here, that is my most anticipated movie of the year, is Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This is a psychological horror thriller from Charlie Kaufman. It's going to be a mindfuck of a movie, and the Oscars are not going to care. Aren't we all excited? Netflix is releasing this one too. It stars Jesse Buckley, it has Jesse Plemons, and Toni Collette's in it. I'm going to watch this movie twice or more, and it's going to be a great time. Like, Charlie Kaufman, what do you want?
Just everything about this is the Oscars won't like it. It's going to make you think too hard. Your brain's going to have to think too hard, and you're going to have to watch the movie twice. Oh, no. But Charlie Kaufman's doing his own thing, and why would we even want him to do an Oscar movie, honestly? Like, he's just been absolutely killing it as a director recently. That's my most anticipated movie of the year.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Stay tuned for whenever we decide to put out our actor predictions, and you will see more categories being predicted as the year rolls on.
If you had to pick one, which movie would you bet your life on to get nominated?